Hey everybody, it's Andy with My Side of the Fence. I'm here today with a guy I've known since 2005, four, Steve Thomas, who was at the time the co-chair or the vice chair of the party, Republican Party of Manassas.
When we met in '04, I was the operations chair.
Operations chair, okay. I mean, it's been a minute. So, and then Steve was, he and Russ Harrison have kind of they've been for a block of 10 years probably, the operations guys for the Republican Party. So, Steve was one-term chair? Two. But before we go there, I know, Steve, that you were in the Corps. You were in the Marines.
I was.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in just outside of Boston, a small city called Waltham.
Mm-hmm.
It's about twice the size of Manassas.
Okay.
Famous for a couple of historical things. Number one, it's where the Industrial Revolution in the United States began.
Right.
A guy by the name of Lowell was over in England and saw their textile mills and said, I can do that. And he opened his first one in Waltham on the Charles River. And then the other big thing was a very famous brand of watch was manufactured there. It's called the Waltham watch.
Oh.
Very famous watch. It was like the Timex of the day.
Oh, okay.
And I believe a Swiss company bought the name in the 60s, and they closed the plant. But now it's all different office condos and things like that. Sat empty for a long time when I was a kid. And now I think a Japanese company owns the name. But you could still get a Waltham watch.
Oh, yeah?
An original Waltham watch is actually worth some money.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
And I left there when I was 18, right out of high school. Went to the Marine Corps. Did about 14 years.
Really? I didn't know it was that long.
And was both an enlisted Marine, and then I had an opportunity to pursue a commission under a great program called the Marine Enlisted Commissioning Education Program. And essentially, that program, they pay you to go to school.
Right.
You're still on active duty. You go to school. You go to officer candidate school, and then when you're done with your degree, you get commissioned, and then you go to the basic school, and then you serve in the fleet. You owe 4 years.
Right.
I paid back 5, but then my hearing started to. It was borderline, and it was right. I was right at the end. I had done my payback. I was getting ready to transfer from Okinawa. Didn't much care for the assignments they were putting in front of me. And then this hearing thing came up, and I just said, you know what?
I'm done.
Give me my small bag of money, and I'm going to leave.
What did you do enlisted? Weren't you artillery?
Yeah, I was artillery, and when I was enlisted, I was a combat engineer. So I was always around things that went boom.
Boom, right.
And I loved loud rock and roll music. that didn't help.
No, that never helps. No. My ears ring now. So, well, they've been ringing for a couple of years, but
yeah. But now I tell people I'm deaf in one ear and I can't hear out the other one.
But it sounded like you must have enjoyed the Corps for 13 of the 14 years anyway.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it until I didn't.
Right.
And it's like a lot of things in life. You love them until you're like, you know what? I think I'm done with this. And that has become a recurring theme.
It does.
With me through life. Go all in. And then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm done with this. It's time to move to something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happened with me in politics. I did the second term, and I just couldn't find it in my heart to dig in, and it's a substantial commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Every evening during the week,
That's a thankless job.
It's fair game, yeah. So, and I loved it until I didn't, just like you. And then I also served 2 terms as chair of the party, and I stopped loving it long before I got out of that job.
Yeah, well, like I still remember back in '04 when we met. I was working in sales.
That's right.
A little company in Old Town, and you were coming in to do our computer system.
Yeah.
And we just got to talking, and that's when I was running. That was the '04 re-election for Bush.
Right.
And I was operating it. We had a headquarters right next to there's a pizza place there now. It was right next to the pavilion.
Right.
And
right.
all that building was in rough shape.
You could see the sky from inside the building.
If you went up to the front wall facing the street and looked up, you could see the sky through the roof. And whenever it rained, we had an indoor water feature. But it was a great headquarters. There was a lot of magic there. Had a great team of volunteers. And it was a successful election cycle. Plus, that was back when, the city was all Republican. So it was a good time to be.
Elections were in May.
Yeah.
City elections.
Yeah. And then, but you and I got to talking about things, and then we've did some other things. You got me into bikes.
Yeah.
For a couple of years, and I was heavy into bikes until I had a wreck. And then I was like, why am I doing this? And my bike is still in the same state it was in when I wrecked it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. The chain just goes through all the gears at once. But yeah, you got me riding. We rode the Tour de Cure.
Yep.
And I did that on my Land Rider, no training, 33 miles. I
couldn't believe you did that, man.
And
that was rough.
And then I was like, I kind of like this, and so I remember we'd go 40, 50 miles on those rides, and that was a good time. And then we did the 100 miles of nowhere around that little park.
That was brutal.
Oh yeah. And then I just, after that, I was big into swimming for a while because I set a personal goal. I was going to swim a 10K.
Oh, yeah?
And I did it in the Freedom Center pool, trained for 6 months, and then the shoulder started to act up, and I was like, I don't have another month of training in me. I'm just going to go for it. And I did it. I swam it. I think it was like 4.5 hours.
Oh.
And just laps in that pool. That's kind of, and the same thing with politics. My wife actually got me hooked into politics. She had a friend that she worked with who was the vice chair and said, hey, why don't you join the party? Next thing you know, she's a precinct captain, and she's like, will you help me? So I call myself the precinct corporal. And then she got real busy at work, and then I kind of stepped up. Next thing you know, I'm running the party.
Right.
The chair, he had to step away for almost a year because he had a thing going on, health thing going on, and so I was the interim chair for a year, and then he came back, finished out his term, and then I ran and I became the chairman. A lot of challenges in that.
That's a miserable job.
A lot of different cycles, but you really learn what politics is all about at the round. And this is what I say. Your average voter walking around, no idea.
None.
No idea. And then a lot of people used to say, hey, Steve, why don't you run for city council? I love that line from a Clint Eastwood movie, man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah.
I said, I'm good at the machine side of things. I don't think I'd be great at governance, simply because I got to have a red meat, issue.
Right.
And, debating whether or not we need blowers at the cogen plant. It's just
not your speed.
So I reckon, but the thing is, those things are important.
They are.
And very important, way more important than the red meat stuff. And I'm like, that needs its due. You need people that can actually be passionate about that.
Right.
And that's what I admire about all the electeds that get into it for that,
Yeah.
keeping the streets swept. And
well, I mean, if you if you're into that just to make yourself feel important, you're in the wrong business.
Oh yeah, and it's not it can't be an ego thing.
Well, no, I wouldn't think at the local level anyway. But people get into that job for all different reasons, and I got into it to try and move the city along, whatever that means, right? But about halfway through my second term, we had the Great Recession and all that stuff, and I kind of got tired of all of it. I want to do things that are kind of more forward-looking, and there just wasn't the appetite on council to do that kind of stuff. And I understand that, but that's the job that I want. And if that's not the job we're going to get, well, then I'm not going to sign up for 4 more years and, resign after 12 months or something. That wasn't it.
Yeah. So, but after my time, I stayed involved in the city.
Yeah, you did.
I did a couple of terms on the Historic Resources Board and was actually the chair of the board for a little while. And we made a lot of recommendations that, you see them come to fruition today. I wish we had a crystal ball to see the direction that the city was going to go, because I don't think some of the we were on a course based on, you can only go with the current events, and it was like we were on a course. It was the we had just come out of the Civil War battle commemorations, and that had been an economic boom to the city and drew a lot of tourism in. And then almost overnight it was, we can't talk about that anymore.
Right.
We can't talk about that anymore. And I was like, no, we can talk about it.
Sure can.
You have to treat it correctly.
Yeah.
And recognize it for what it was. And I felt like I was in a good position to comment on that because I didn't have a dog in that fight.
Right.
My ancestors weren't even in this country when the Civil War happened, right?
Right.
So yeah, some of the I was like, wait. We've just decided, the city's just decided to turn Liberia back to what it was, make it period correct.
Right.
Now, what is that period? Civil War, right?
Yeah.
So they take down all these trees and they take down and they spend all this to put it just the way it is. And it's like, don't talk about the Civil War.
Right.
And it's like, okay.
And for a while.
So now it's home to the Bee Festival.
Right.
Not that I don't think that the Bee Festival isn't awesome, but it's home to the Bee Festival. It's not.
Right.
It's not a Civil War thing.
Well, it's a weird thing. Like I was talking to Teresa, and I think she told me 10,000 people come to that bee festival.
Yeah.
That's remarkable, man. I mean, that's a very successful event. But for a while, I think they were calling it Liberia Plantation.
Yeah.
And I think that got scotched. And I always thought that was kind of a weird name for it. Anyways, it's I have a hard time regarding Liberia as being particularly historic, mainly because, like when I was in high school, that's where the field parties were.
Oh yeah.
So, I well remember not behaving myself at Liberia, and people look at it and they're like, "It's amazing." Well, it is amazing, but I got a little bit different view on that as a kid. But yeah, well, so you were Historic Resources Board for 2 terms?
Yes.
And then decided you had enough.
Yeah, it was more. I just did not necessarily care. Like, look, I have a degree in history, and history is, it's an interpretation of events.
Yeah.
But pretending they never happened—that's not an interpretation.
No, it's not. We put together for the 150th. We put together like a 4-day event that was largely didn't work out because it was 120 degrees 4 days in a row.
Oh, I remember.
Oh, it was horrible. And nobody showed up. And the weather is the weather. You can't get
away all
from
those
it.
Reenactors in the wool uniforms passing out.
Oh,
I remember that.
But when we had other Civil War commemorations, we had a lot of people that came to Manassas.
Well, then the second battle commemoration, that one was huge.
Yeah.
Because I was like intimately involved in the planning and the reenactors were coming up and
they're unbelievable.
They were like, this is the best event.
Yeah.
Out of all the events we go to, this is the best organized, the best run. You guys make us feel welcome. And
it was amazing.
I think it was a mistake. It was an overreaction.
Yeah.
I think you like I said, you treat it, okay, so we're going to interpret it a little differently, but we're still going to talk about it because people need to know what happened.
Yes.
And so what do we got now? We've got a new museum, right?
Yes.
Look, I love Manassas. I've lived here for 26 years. I actually lived here longer than I lived in Waltham.
Is that right?
And okay, so what are we talking about? Why should people come to Manassas? Well, we got some cool restaurants and we got a nice place to walk around.
Yeah.
There's no denying, but other places have that.
Yeah.
What do we have that nobody else has?
Yeah. It's
Two
unique.
battles.
Yeah, it's unique.
And trains.
And we have some trains. We do.
And we used to have a Viking festival, which I loved because those are my peeps.
Is the Viking Festival dead?
What's that?
The Viking Festival is gone?
It was the organizers, I think, that said it was too much of a heavy lift.
Got to be too much. Yeah,
it wasn't the city saying, we don't... listen, the Viking period, it was, we don't want to talk about it. No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Putting on a festival like that is a lot of work.
Oh, yes, yes. Having been on the planning side and then having to do it all, with minimal support from the city. Like we had
from anybody,
we had the city's resources at our disposal. I can imagine what it was like. But it was a great event.
It was.
And I'm glad we still have these events to draw people here because it is a good place. Well, it's a good place.
I do feel like we don't have as many of those big events. I feel like First Friday has kind of supplanted a lot of that. They had the Jazz Festival and the Viking Festival and the beer and wine thing, and all of those I think are gone except for the Train Festival and maybe the Fall Jubilee. That's probably about it. And I miss those, but I understand that none of those can live forever, right? You have to change things, but First Friday has become its own challenge.
Yeah, you can't stop people from hanging a left in front of the train station.
Right.
Every time. That's like the running gag on Facebook now.
Yeah,
and it's like,
it's unbelievable. And then the city. To be fair to the city, there's not a lot you can do to fix that. So they put up a couple of more signs, and a day later, someone was plowing down the railroad tracks, and there just aren't any easy fixes. You can't put an arm across the railroad tracks. That's probably not a thing. I don't know. I feel like if you're making a right onto the railroad tracks, an arm is not going to stop you.
No, no. I don't know. I think some like big signage, big flashing sign. I don't know.
It might work.
I don't know. Well, no, you put flashing lights up, and then next thing you know, you got people like, oh, that's gonna cause people to have seizures.
Right.
It's always something.
It's always something. The internet has a solution for everything.
It was a famous comedian. He used to say, "You can't fix stupid."
No, that's right.
Ron White can't fix stupid.
He's amazing.
Yeah, you can't fix stupid, and some people, they get a few drinks in them, and turn here. But yeah, as what I teach in my classes, my self-defense classes, I teach the 4 rules of stupid. Don't do stupid things with stupid people at stupid times in stupid places. If you observe those 4 rules, you can avoid a lot of trouble.
Yes. Your life gets a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was, there's always that. First Fridays, I mean, they're great. I'm not knocking it, but, and I haven't seen as much heat lately. It was like earlier this spring, where it got completely out of control. People were just going to 7-Eleven, buying beer, and going to the pavilion.
Oh, sure.
Because first, there's not much, early on, there's not much going on at the pavilion. Evidently, later on, there was. But, and it kind of got out of hand. But, the city and the police department, police department will figure it out. They always do. They're good at what they do.
Sure. I'm just waiting for the, a rave still a thing?
You're asking the wrong person, brother.
I'm wondering because, it's like, it's about all we haven't done.
That's true. That's true.
So I would say it never say never, right?
Yeah, never say never.
Well, First Friday for me is just, is the day to avoid Old Town.
Yes. If I'm going to go there, I'll go early and I'll have a beer and then I'm out because I am not putting up with all that.
Well, these days, if I have a early Friday where I don't have at the school, I don't have parents' night out or something like that.
Right.
Usually, First Friday for me is I'm at home in my easy chair with a couple of cats in my lap.
Right.
Dead asleep.
Yeah. I'm with you. So tell us a little bit about what were the challenges for you when you were the chair of the party? Well,
and I'm starting to see this on the Democrat side.
Yeah.
The challenge is when you have we're talking about the days when Steve Randolph was what passed for friendly opposition.
Right.
And Manassas was kind of holding the line. I used to say we were the Constantinople of, we were this little speck of red and it was starting to get purple.
Right.
And then it was starting to turn blue. And, but we were kind of holding the line. And the challenges were you had to manage the various factions within the party and keep them from destroying each other. When we'd have a convention, those things would get like really contentious because they're all running for the GOP nomination, and it's like, oh, they're a rhino or this one's, and it was like, people, can we keep the rhetoric, at the end of the day, it was a family food fight.
Right.
And I remember one cycle, it was a cycle when Cuccinelli was the nominee. And, Cuccinelli is very conservative.
Yeah.
And this was when the Tea Party was for a time we had a very active Tea Party. Look, a lot of those folks that were running, they're close personal friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I am just getting torn up on Facebook. And it's like, no, guys, I cannot put my thumb on the scale.
Right.
I can't even have the appearance of putting the thumb on the scale. Look, everybody knows my politics.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be extra careful not to put my thumb on the scale.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was on vacation in Spain with my wife and my daughter. We were visiting some family in Spain, and I'm reading the stuff on Facebook, and it's like, how dare he take a vacation? This is like March. Doesn't he know this is the most important election of our... Like, it's a governor's race. It's March.
Right. It's an off year.
Yeah, and the thing is I don't think the fact that I'm taking a week off to go to Spain is going to be the deciding factor. It's like I see election night prognosticators. Wow, if Steve Thomas up there in Manassas hadn't gone to Spain for a week, our guy would have won.
Right, the world would still be safe for democracy.
But what happened was, other things. There was this big row about whether or not the state GOP was providing enough support, and Mort Blackwell had to chime in and say, "Look, we've done this and this and this and this and this. He's getting the same support we'd give anyone else."
Right.
And that was when it started to kind of turn sour for me to say this really isn't fun when I'm fighting more with the people
in
my party than I am with the folks from the other side.
Yeah.
I'm like just trying to keep all those factions at some maybe not hugging and kissing, at least not throwing rocks.
Yeah.
And then we had the whole. Just as how contentious it gets, we had a convention, and a person that was running showed up, and she thought that just because she is who she is, and everyone likes her. Mm-hmm. People were just going to vote for it. Yeah, and it's like, no, you don't understand. Yeah. You actually have to get your people there. Mm-hmm. There is a strategy to it. And she got blown out. And And then there was this whole revolt. And they called themselves the Pink Army.
Oh, right. I remember this.
And this is how bad it got. I had to kick my wife out of the party. My wife and the former chair's wife were part of that team, and I said, well, listen, I got to have your resignations.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, okay. And boom. And so that gave me cover when people are like, why aren't you doing something about this? What do you mean? I kicked my wife out the party.
Right.
They're like, you kicked your wife out the party?
You are crazy.
That's hardcore. And, it was that. And then the whole moved the elections.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, and this is, it's funny how that thing came to be. And this is, I've thought about it, I had a chance. Some years ago, you remember Paul Ebert?
Yeah, I remember
Paul used to have this big blowout at Tim's River Shore every year. And it was it wasn't Paul Ebert's thing. It was a friend of mine. She was on the school board out in the county, and I had worked her campaign a couple of times, her re-election campaign. And so she invited me to this big blowout she was having at Tim's River Shore. And I met Ben Tribbett. Do you remember, Ben,
I remember him.
Blogger extraordinaire, not Larry Sabato?
Yeah.
And we were sitting there, and he goes, "Oh, so you're the chair of the Manassas?" Yeah. He goes, "Yeah, you guys in 4 cycles are going to be Democrat." I went, "You're out of your mind." I said, "Because they don't even have a party, a functioning party."
Right.
He goes, no, they're going to find something to get organized about. And part of me is thinking he had a crystal ball like Larry Sabato.
Right.
Part of me think he was kind of the impetus behind it. It's because things happened way too, and he's sitting there and he broke out like stats and, this cycle they were, +7 on and it was like, he goes, all they have to do is move those elections and the Republicans will be gone in 2 cycles. And I was like, well, excuse me.
There's water right there.
Do you remember the whole row about Save the Water Tower?
Yes.
That was the thing that they organized around. It was the same group of people that got the water tower saved.
Right.
That revitalized the Democrat Party.
I didn't love it.
It was the same names. And it was like, And next thing you know, I'm out, grocery shopping and I see somebody collecting signatures and it's, hey, would you sign this for move the election? I was like, move the elections. Oh. Now, they had a group. Our group was me, Russ Harrison, and I think Hal was giving us a little financial support.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, it was, people, I think I might have still been in office or maybe it was right after I got out. And that group approached me and said, like, well, what do you think? Or people would ask me. And I said, look, I fully support the people that are passionate about things, putting them on the ballot. I don't love this idea, but am I going to go, trash it? No, I'm not. But yeah, it's turned out to be, it's basically what we predicted, right? You have a ton of people voting, most of whom know very little to nothing about what the issues are in the city. And, we don't have a newspaper anymore. We have a couple of online guys that work hard and they do good work. But, thinking back to my experience with the Journal Messenger, and I remember when I was in office, the Washington Post had a bureau in Manassas.
I remember.
With 3 or 4 people. And that one female reporter, she was sharp as a tack, went to every meeting, didn't miss anything. And, I could write that stupid blog that I was writing. I could put something there every day and say, hey, I need people to come to this meeting. I get 4 people. The Journal Messenger ran something about like, well, the city's going to do, increase taxes by whatever. Packed room. Mm-hmm. You just don't get that anymore.
No.
So.
No. Well, the thing is what I find, and again, this is just me. Strategically, I can admire their choice of cycle.
Yeah.
Strategically, I can admire it. But I sit back and I go, that was pretty darn disingenuous. If you really, because the city issues and federal issues, it's like we're debating, what are the issues? The local tax rate, should we build a new school, and whether or not we should withdraw from the World Trade Organization. Right?
Right.
I think it would. I would have been a little bit more accepting of it. If it would be timed with the same cycle as the state elections, because who are you electing? You're electing your House a delegate, rep. You're electing your state Senate rep. You're voting for governor. and local. At least there's some connection there. There's some sinew between the two levels of government, but not, Congress and city council.
Yeah. President and city council.
President, yeah. And it's like, but it is what it is, and very quickly. And I'm to your point. That's what I liked about the May elections. Mm-hmm. You had to care.
Yeah, you absolutely did.
To show up to vote. The issues had to matter to you, and it's I think I don't want to say the quality of the voter, because that's not a quantitative thing.
Right.
Just the what did Churchill say? The greatest argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. But what he would also say is democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others.
Right.
It's the best system that we have. And, it's like the people show up and they vote for what matters to them. And if they want to vote a certain way, they need to accept the outcomes.
Yeah.
And all we have to do is point to California.
Or any place that is completely one-sided. I mean,
well, now you have to start talking about, like, we were flush tax, wastewater tax, things like that. They have to a poop tax. When you have to put that on, should we be charging to get human waste off the streets?
Right.
Okay, you have a problem.
Yeah.
You have a problem. Yeah. So, and the thing is it's not like there aren't, it's not like Manassas is always on the bleeding edge of things. No, actually, we lag. And I've liked that because you get a chance to see, okay, well, if we do the same things as they did, we're probably going to get the same results.
That's the way it works.
And to say, oh, well, let's vote the same way. I'll give you an example. Like, this is where government kind of... You remember the big push to get away from incandescent light bulbs to CFLs?
Yeah.
Those things were like 10 times more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Hazardous waste to dispose of. But no, you have to, because incandescent light bulb, bad.
Right.
It got replaced by LEDs.
Yeah.
LEDs, good.
LED's good.
LED's good. Just wait. Now, electric cars.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's going to be a thing for a while.
I think electric cars are going to be the CFLs of...
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like those plug-in hybrids are really kind of taking over anyway.
No, I read an article in Popular Science. There is a machine. It's small right now. It'll produce a gallon of gas a day that can produce gasoline from air. It pulls the carbon out. You have to put water in it, because what is gas? A hydrocarbon.
Right.
The machine makes...
That's interesting.
And I'll send you the article. Yeah, I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. The answer, I feel like that meme where, is it Leonardo DiCaprio from the Tarantino movie pointing at the TV, see? I feel like that guy. And but I was like, yeah, there we go. I think electric cars are going to be and honestly, we don't have room for electric cars because we need all that electricity for the data centers.
No shit. You're not going to have any electricity left over to charge. Although I'll tell you, if California wants to pass a law that says we don't allow, the sale of internal combustion engines in the state, that's their affair. I don't care. I think that the feds should leave them alone on that. And, they'll go whatever direction they go. But I think the other 49 states are going to be selling in, trucks and cars with gasoline engines for a long time. You might get some hybrid technologies that'll knock things down, and that's great. That's progress, right? But, when just because I think it's dumb doesn't mean they should just go ahead and do it. If they want to hit their thumb with a hammer, that's not my affair.
I already have plans to have my red bar cheddar in the garage. But and the thing is like data centers, right? I have a prediction, and I'm going to make this prediction here.
Okay.
I've put this out on other forums. I think it just went right over people's heads. There was a time in my career where I worked in it was right after I got out of the Marine Corps. I worked in the telecom industry.
Right.
The internet boom. I was there. Okay. I was there. I remember when businesses were still on dial-up.
Yeah.
And we would sell 128K, 256K, like half a T1.
Right.
And a business would run on that.
Those frame relay circuits.
Multi-site business running on 64K frame relay connections, right?
Yeah, I remember.
I sold those networks.
Yeah.
And what happened was everyone was like, the internet is the future. Yeah, the internet's the future. And it's that old adage, how do you get rich? Figure out where everyone wants to be and get there first, right?
Yeah.
So every time somebody was digging a ditch, they'd call up the big carriers, the WorldComs and the Quests and stuff. Hey, we've got a hole in the ground. You want to put some fiber in it? Oh yeah, right? And they're laying fiber everywhere because they thought the demand was going to continue, and they were correct.
Yeah.
But the thing is they only were working from one side of the equation. There's a certain number of strands of glass in each fiber optic cable. Right? And at the time, a strand of glass could carry like one signal.
Right.
Then they came out with this technology called dense wave division multiplexing. Let's carve up the light into different colors. They won't interfere with their frequencies. Now you can carry, 10 times the data on that same strand of glass.
Right.
So what happened? You had all this fiber in the ground. Most of it was put in the ground using debt.
Yeah.
And then the .coms. Listen, I was out there and I was selling connections to these .coms, all funded by venture cap. And I'm sitting there like, this is your business model? You're kidding. Okay, yeah, sign here. And I'd be like, they're done in 6 months, right? And it's like, so what happened was a lot of them got like free equipment and stuff on terms, and it was like, then they started to fail.
Oh yeah.
And then you had so the customers are failing, and that's starting to put stress on the big telcos, and they start to fall one by one by one by one. Like I can remember, you remember what Raven Stadium used to be called?
Mm-mm.
PSI Net Stadium.
They were gone.
How about Quest?
Yeah.
Ride the light.
Yeah.
I remember that commercial. It was like, guy comes in, he's all sweaty. It's that Bates Motel in the desert. He's there, what do you have? Do you have, do you have a pool? No, pool's broken. Do you have this? You have that? And the girl behind the counter is like, no, I don't have that. He goes, what do you have? And she goes, we have every movie ever made on demand. And it'll go, ride the light, right?
I remember that, yeah.
People were eating that stuff up with a spoon. I worked for a big international carrier. And, I mean, when that thing collapsed, it collapsed hard. Well, here's the thing. I see them, data center, boom, 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 going up, right? Going up everywhere. And it's like, and then I read an article, because I still read that stuff. It still pops up in my feed and in my LinkedIn, right?
Right.
for a time I worked for a 3-letter, like at the time, the biggest name in technology.
Right.
Used to be in this city,
Right.
right? And my largest customer was probably still is, the largest retail company in the world. So you can think, it's based out in Arkansas.
Right. Right.
And my job for a year was to get on a plane on Monday, fly there, afternoon meeting, work on this project for 3 days, brief the customer on Friday, fly back. They, at the time, had like 8 petabytes of data full mirrored.
Wow. That's a lot.
8 petabytes. And our project was they had run out of space in their data center. Literally could not put another rack of RAID
Right.
in there. And then also the local power company was like, you cannot have any more power. We don't care who you are. There's just no way.
It's not there.
So our job was to go in and clean up all of their data to give them some room to grow to build another data center somewhere else.
Right.
And it was 8 petabytes here, full mirrored in Joplin, Missouri.
Right.
I just saw that company I used to work for in partnership with another company has launched a product. They've announced a product that hasn't come out yet that will hold that amount of data, 16 petabytes in 4 standard rack units.
I believe it. Yeah.
Now,
I mean, that's a lot, but I believe it.
that is a data center killer.
It is.
And on the storage side, that's happening. Well, everyone's like, well, yeah, but we need all this stuff for AI, right? And these processors. I got into this industry right when they were converting from mainframes to, I remember that when I'd walk in and there'd be towers
right
on the floor, right? And that was when we met. That's the company I was working for. We helped you rack them and stack them.
That's right. That's right.
Now, you can get the amount of processing that was happening in that computer room in a 4 rack unit.
I believe it.
A 4 standard unit. So what's going to happen is technology. People that are only looking at one side of the equation.
Yeah.
And space, now they've, I forget which company was concluded a thing where they built these little data centers underwater.
Yeah.
And they reduced failure rate by 70% because heat is the killer.
Heat's the enemy, yeah.
70% underwater.
That's wild.
So what's going to happen when people are like, I want that, not the big square box data? What do those become? I
mean, the good news about those is that they're relatively easy to knock down. They're just tilt-up buildings, most of them.
Well,
but I have a buddy who does a lot of legal work for Amazon, Microsoft, and guys like that for a data center. And I asked him, I said, man, when does this end? And he said, as far as I can tell, there's no end in sight. Because, every time, not every time, but a lot of the times the data center guys start to get like a lot of local pushback, like there are in Prince William County. And, for them, well, okay, and then, we'll pay to run a fiber to Warrenton or Culpeper. And hell, the fiber's probably already in the ground. And we'll just build them there. And they'll be happy to see us because it's not built up. And there's, space. The ground is still relatively inexpensive. That digital gateway project, they were paying north of $1 million an acre for those properties. That's astonishing. So clearly money is no object. But I do wonder if, AI is an amazing technology, but I feel like right now it's at a point where you've got some solutions out there. You've got ChatGPT and you've got, Copilot from Microsoft and a bunch of other tools. But it's still, I feel like it's still in the phase of, for small business, okay? It's a solution hunting for a problem. Now, enterprise, where they have mountains of data, that's a little different, or even mid-market businesses. But your guys under, 50 employees, they're struggling, a lot of them, to take advantage of AI beyond what services are available on the web. It's a lot.
Well, the thing is having a mind. I remember things, and I can make it's the history major in me,
right,
to connect those data, to see the connections. If you are driving west on 66, just as you approach the 234 exit, look off to your right. There is this data center sitting there. I remember when that thing was just finished, grand opening.
Okay.
That was right at the time that the bottom fell out of the telecom market. That thing sat empty for 8 years.
Is that right? Wow.
8 years, and then a data company, a data storage or a hosting company out of Ashburn bought it, pennies on the dollar, and now it's a data center. But let's see, it took about 12 years for that thing to actually become a functioning data. It sat there,
right.
Went into bankruptcy.
Ugh.
So that's my point. We have a downturn, or people want to go to the next best thing, and you've got all this land.
Oh yeah.
That you just built. You've got all this power infrastructure. And another thing, it's going to get hot here, because where do you think all that heat generated by? Where do you think it
Yeah, well, it goes out and it goes into the water.
And they just built one. Not 200-300 yards from here.
2 of them, in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. People complain about that. I don't love data centers. I understand. I'll give the city a little credit, though, because I feel like those are in the city. That's where you would build them. They're built in about the right place. No one loves the way they look, right? But that and the brick factory, I guess, is where there's another one. So I feel like they put those in the right place. But to me, it seems like, Microsoft has already said they're going to reopen 3 Mile Island. I mean, to me, that seems like we're getting towards the end. When you have to buy your own nuclear plant to make it go. That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just like, about the time, if my prediction does come true, I won't be living here. I'll be living on top of my mountain.
In West Virginia.
Out in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Making knives.
Yeah.
That's where I'll be, teaching martial arts at the local community center.
Right.
But if you've lived here long enough or know the history of what happened when, that 3-letter company pulled out of here, the city almost dried up and blew away.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wasn't on council then, but Hal, I think, was. And he told me, he said, basically, we came up with a 2 or 3 tier strategy. We had how many ever dollars the whole was, I don't remember. But he said, a third of it we're going to cut, a third of it, or maybe half of it we're going to cut, and half we're going to raise taxes. And he said that it was really painful. I mean, it reminded me a lot of what happened in the city during the Great Recession. Mm-hmm. We had to cut a lot out of the budget. And back then, the city staff was somewhat smaller. And, I remember sitting there the night the council voted on the budget, and all of those people whose jobs were on the line were out there in the audience. And I had to look those people in the eye and put them out of a job. And that was probably the worst experience on council. Firing people is never any fun.
Oh no!
But these guys are cops. Some of them were public safety.
Yeah,
and we had to cut them. We didn't have the money. So
now you see what happens. There's enough historical examples of what happens when they get into that death spiral.
Yeah.
And like you look at Cleveland, and Kucinich. He was he was the captain of the ship when it ran aground.
Right.
But he wasn't. It wasn't. He was just there when the chickens came home to roost.
Yeah.
It was years of.
Oh yeah.
Of, not looking far enough and not asking the question. What if this goes bad?
Yeah.
It's a saying. It's the fools weigh the odds, the wise weigh the stakes,
right.
and it's like, okay, what if it? I use the example. This is like this friend of mine. Like, one thing I refused to do in my military career was jump out of a plane. And I had this friend. He was with Anglico, Air Naval Gunfire Liaison Company. They're like. They would jump with the Rangers and be able to call in air and naval gun for them. He was Halo qualified.
Wow.
Yeah, high altitude, low opening, and he goes, "Dude, I've had 85 jumps, never had a bad one." And I go, "It only takes one."
That's right.
So I'm like looking at this, and then it was like, what are we doing when the commissioner of revenue has to go to the council and say, listen, our current burn rate, spend rate is unsustainable. The only way we can keep it going is to cut tax relief to veterans and senior citizens.
Yeah, I saw that.
My jaw literally hit the. We're buying, the city's buying this property and that property and stuff, and then we built this data center and we're going to get all this tax from it, and it's like, bad news, guys. A bank went in there and a bank has a special card. What?
Yeah.
It's not seeing. It's always the punch you don't see coming that knocks you out, and it's like. All it's going to take is okay, well, we're doing what everyone else is doing. We're putting, we're building all this stuff. We're doing all this developing. Now, I think that that's an overcorrection for back when I was the chair, there was always this food fight. You had Republicans fighting with Republicans and Steve Randolph over whether or not we spent any money on anything. And you run a business, I run a business. You got to spend some money.
Yeah.
But the thing is you can't go crazy.
Yeah.
And or else, what happens? I can't take a paycheck this month.
Yeah.
Or I can't take a paycheck for the next 6 months because, and it's like, Gosh, slow down. Ease up off the gas. I've always, technology-wise, I've always been a late adopter.
Right.
I'm always on my phone. I'm always like 3 models behind. And when all those Samsungs were blowing up in people's pockets, I'm like, aha, I'm like 3 versions behind.
I'm on the right side of this.
There's a reason for that. And it's like, point man usually gets taken out first.
You do.
And, but it's like, I just wish they would slow down a little bit, be a little bit more deliberative and ask the question, if a bad thing happens, what then?
What then? Yeah. I mean, I know that a lot of people, when I was on the council, we bought the old DMV building. Mm-hmm. And, some people were not all that happy about it. And my thinking was, well, look, we need to control what goes there, because it's, we also own all this other property, and I don't want somebody plopping, an undesirable use onto that premium land. Now, it still hasn't manifested really, at least not to the extent that we thought then. But I did support buying the Old Town Inn. Now it wasn't up to me. No one cares what I think about it. But and we had to buy the dirt, and we had to buy the guy's business.
Yes,
and so it was expensive. I do think that they'll regret turning that into a parking lot, because when they go to plow it up, people are going to raise hell. Now there was never enough parking, and now you're removing parking, and and it may be a while. I mean, the economy is not bad, but I think it's fair to say it's kind of uncertain. There's a lot of moving pieces in Washington, especially. So buying all those other properties kind of surprised me. The shopping center property, that surprised me. And so did the Marsteller Middle School property. I get that from their point of view, someone could buy that property and drop in, self-storage or townhouses or whatever. I mean, I don't know what it's zoned, but, by right, the council don't get a vote.
Right.
So, I kind of get it, but I was kind of like, man, it seems like we're spending a lot of money. But, I wasn't going to go protest or anything. The council's going to do what they're going to do.
Yes. There's been a lot of change since this small town, sleepy little town, and this is a unique place, because I try to tell my family this. So not only do we have our local stuff, but we've got national politics is our local news. Where we live.
Yeah.
And my family never quite got that. They live up in Boston, right? And they're like, oh, we said, okay, that's a little section of the Boston Globe.
Right.
Okay. Here, it's constant.
Never ends.
It's so much so we don't even have a local newspaper anymore.
No. And on the local news, on Channel 4 or whatever, national news.
Yeah.
Maybe someone got, run over by a bus, or there was a stabbing or something, but the rest of it's national news and weather.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why a lot of folks don't pay any attention to the local stuff.
Yeah.
Because of the noise of the national and international stuff.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is something that's unique to our region.
It is. When I go down to the Northern Neck or something, there's a lot of people that live down near Colonial Beach that are from here, but when I'm at the brewery having a beer, chatting with some guy, he's like, well, those damn Russians. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about stuff that's happening there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's harder to ignore when you don't have a distraction.
Yeah.
That's just my view of things, and I've really tried to tune a lot of that out. We're friends on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I don't put anything.
No, you don't.
Political.
No.
I do not. Part of the reason is because of my business. I don't want to. I don't want anybody, because people are passionate about that stuff. Look, hey, I won't watch a movie because I disagree with a particular. I don't ever want someone to feel like they're not welcome to be members of my school, because it's not.
Right.
It's apolitical. It does not have. It's like, look, you want to get fit, you want to learn how to defend yourself, come here. I don't care. And I have students from all stripes.
Yeah.
And if I start hearing stuff, like I shut that stuff down. I said, not on my mats.
Right.
Everybody should be welcome in my school. And really, it's been kind of freeing. Now, someone says, hey, Steve, back in the day, if there was an issue, I was like when the boutique opened up.
Oh, right.
I was involved in that. I was involved in the illegal immigration issue local. Yeah. And in that regard, we were ahead of the curve, I think.
We were. I still feel like, it's not going to win me any friends, right? I'm not running for office, but I felt like the agreement that the city negotiated with the FBI at the time was good policy.
Yes.
You had to actually go to jail.
Yes. You had to be taken into custody, charged with something else.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'll never forget, I remember I was out door knocking for one of the political campaigns, and there was this guy there. He had a rental house, and he was like, and I said, okay, so what issues? He was there. He owned the house. He was just there doing some work. So what issues? He goes, we got to do something about this immigration problem. And he told me a story, and it was like, now, I had this stuff happen next door to me and down the street, and but this guy told me this story. He's like, yeah, so I had some people, and I found out, the people that signed the lease were here illegally, but they were running a boarding house out of my house, so I kicked them all out.
Right.
Told them, get out. So I have new tenants move in, and they're like, hey, the heat and AC won't work. It's like, okay, I'll get a guy to come out there. And so he gets a guy to go out and look, and the guy calls him up and goes, yeah, I'll figure out what the problem is. And he goes, yeah, your heat pump's gone. And he goes, my heat pump is it's broken or something. He goes, no, it's gone.
They stole it.
Like they took it.
Right.
And then you saw I had a friend, he bought a house that had been literally gutted by the tenants on the way out. They had taken everything.
Yeah.
Sinks, copper pipe. Now on my street, right next to me, there was this beautiful house, and these folks moved out, and this lady out of Vienna bought it. And next thing you know, you'd see in the morning, you'd see a van would pull up, and vans will pull up and they drop off 15 kids. You see dudes walking up with bags of laundry.
Yeah.
They were running a daycare and a laundry business out of the place. There was a pool in the backyard. And one night, I was sitting there and I was like, I'm hearing bullfrogs. So I went to my neighbor and I go, hey, his name was Arnie. I said, Arnie, can I look over your fence? He goes, sure. He was this old guy,
right.
Good guy. So I walked over and I kind of got something. I peeked up. I called the city and I said, you need to come look at this pool. And they came and it was full of trash, dirty diapers. There were rats, visible rats. They condemned the place. And he said, it's the worst I've ever seen. Called the state. Damn. The state came and they kicked everybody out. And then the owner was there and came and had some guys coming in ripping out carpet and stuff. And,
right.
and me and the neighbors, we were just kind of watching this. And she just started cursing us out in the driveway for
ratting her out,
for busting up her thing. And then down the street, I had this call from a lady. She said she just got home, she came home middle of the day, unexpected, and she's like, she noticed her water bill and her power bill were up going through the roof, and she had a guy come out and actually check for a leak. They couldn't find any leaks. She couldn't figure out why. She comes home middle of the day, and there's a hose and an extension cord running between her house and the house next door. Now, this house next door had a chicken. I could hear it when I was out walking my dog, a chicken crowing. And no chickens in the city. Right. Not that I'm anti-chicken.
Right.
But when a chicken crows, you kind of notice.
Yeah.
And then there was corn growing in the front lawn. And I would watch little kids come out. You know, there was like 3 or 4 little kids lived there, you know, running around in diapers. You know, little kids, right?
You want little kids?
The kids standing there on the front porch peeing into the corn.
Oh, well.
I'm like, yeah, you know, this has kind of gone too far.
Right.
So I was always involved. I was involved in that and stuff like that. Well, after I left politics and started to pursue other things, everyone was like, hey, you know, this issue, that issue, Steve, we need you involved because you know how to like organize these things. I said, no. And then finally someone goes, hey, you out of the game? And I said, listen, when you stop caring, things stop bothering you.
Well, yeah, that's right.
And I think I'm at that point where it's like, look, people vote.
Yeah, I mean, you get the government you elect, right?
Exactly.
And it just that you know, the current you know, Commonwealth's attorney, current all those guys, they just seem like all of them, not all of them, but some of them are just on the other side of the fence, and it's frustrating, and you know, a lot of that stuff that we did back then gets mischaracterized because, you know, when we went to negotiate with the FBI, we're just a bunch
with
of
ICE.
Well, yeah, ICE, but I think maybe it's
287G.
Yeah. But maybe that was
U.S.
under,
Immigration Code.
Yeah, it was under DOJ or something. I don't remember. But they sent some guys out.
Yeah.
First thing you do is like you have to sign, you know, non-disclosures.
Yeah.
And I said, well, all right, whatever, because at the time it was pretty controversial. They didn't want the heat.
Yes.
So we're just some yahoos, you know, from a little town in Virginia, and we're kind of like, well, so when someone gets picked up for drunk in public, we want to check and then deport them. And they said, no. Well, if someone gets a DUI, you know, and we check and they're here illegally, we want to deport them. No, that's not happening. Here's what we're going to do. You know, rape, robbery,
felony,
murder, and maybe serial misdemeanors, but it's got to be significant. And if you call us down here and it's, you know, someone was, you know, got drunk and fell asleep on someone's lawn, they're not going out of the country, and we're going to stop answering the phone. Right. So it was a lot different.
Well, if you recall, that effort started out in the county.
Yeah.
I was involved because, you know, you have the county and the city decide what happens at the jail, right? So we went out to the county first. And this is what I find ironic, and I won't mention his name, but he was the chair of the Board of County Supervisors.
Mm-hmm.
He did not want to touch this thing at all. It was one of the supervisors who got behind this.
Right.
And then we got that, you know, thing, the resolution passed out there. As soon as that chairman saw that it was popular and it had legs, he glommed onto that and he ran with that, and that became his thing.
It did.
And I remember seeing a clip on Fox News where they had him and he's out there talking. I think he was running for lieutenant governor or governor or something. Yeah. He's out there, and I'm like, if they only knew.
Yeah.
The conversations we had way back in the beginning, he did not want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. And I'm like, see, that's politicians.
Right.
That's what was, you know, my people are going in this direction. I am their leader, therefore I shall follow them.
Right. Well, that was back in like the Help Save Manassas days too.
Yeah, that was it. But now there's only one jurisdiction in Northern Virginia that still has an agreement for 287G, and there's pressure to get rid of it there. Yeah. That's Loudoun County. The Loudoun County right? Sheriffs still has the agreement. Look, something had to be done. Now, people may disagree with the way the current administration is going about it, and they can make that argument. Mm-hmm. They could make that argument because there is the danger that it could go too far.
Oh, yeah.
But that the options are not deport everybody, do nothing.
Right.
And that's the problem that we've had for as long as I've been politically active, was those were the two options that were presented. You got to choose one.
Yeah.
It's not a binary choice.
No, it really isn't. And you know, the problem is only, I feel like in Manassas, the issue has subsided somewhat. It is not like it was back in 2007, 8, 9. It's subsided somewhat, and predictably, those folks that immigrated, came here, they worked hard, they built a life for themselves and their families. This is the way it works every time. Some of them don't like it, and they go home. That's what happened when the Irish came in the early 1900s. The Italians, I think about 35 or 40% of those guys, they've said, this America is not for me, I'm going home. But here it seems like it's subsided somewhat, and they're still sort of mischaracterizing what we did back in the day. Like, we were not doing sweeps. We had 4 police officers on duty at any time. That's not enough to do a sweep back in 2008.
Well, and I think there's enough Tren de Aragua and MS-13 and long-term recidivist, like, to me, sanctuary cities, that boggles my mind. Okay, so that's the all or nothing approach, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're going to let a serial child molester or somebody that has all these a long
track
record. You're going to treat them just like our homegrown element, and no, they have a right to live. No, they don't. You see what? I'm glad they booted that guy that just got off the plane from Egypt and kicked the dog at Dulles Airport.
Yeah.
They fined him for the vet bill, put him back on the plane. Get out.
Well, that was one of the things that I was surprised to learn through the whole 287G process. It's like, oh, well, this guy got, drunk and ran into a bus and killed somebody. But he has to go to jail first. Then we deport them when he's served his 20-year sentence or whatever. And I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's almost like, if you're just going to put them on a plane and send them home, it's almost like a reward, get out of jail free card.
Well, it was the guy, when we were doing that whole thing, it was the guy who, he was drunk and he crossed the center line and killed a cop.
Right.
And then there was the guy who was drunk, killed a car full of nuns.
Yeah.
It's like, how bad does it have to get before you want to do something?
Right.
But the thing is, and then the other side, demonize. They're going to be going into schools and yanking little kids out of schools. Listen, there's enough of the bad element. Just focus on them. Get them out of here. And then I'm like, look, fix the
immigration system.
Fix it,
please.
And now I will give the current administration high props. Border. In May, there were 0 apprehensions. 0. I like that number.
I think people generally, like, even when I'm talking to, like, I have a buddy down at the gym down in Colonial Beach. I think that guy secretly wears Trump underwear, but he says the same thing about all this, like, that I say. And it's like, yeah, we needed to get control of the border, and now we need to fix the whole process so that, immigrants are super important to our country. And we need to fix this thing because we do need people to come here. That's what makes America strong. But it has to be under control. It can't just be whoever wants to roll across the border that day.
Well, and then people forget when your borders are open, other people that have bad, they caught those Chinese guys with the fungus.
Yeah.
Iranians with man pads. Do you know what a man pad is?
I know exactly what a man pad is.
Most people don't. That's a shoulder-launched missile to take down aircraft.
Right.
Iranians with man pads. I mean, there are people that generally do not like us, and you kind of want to control which one of those comes in.
Yeah.
They say that the Canadian border is heating up.
Well, I was listening to a podcast. I think it was Sean Ryan.
I heard that episode.
I mean, that woman, she's only 24. That's remarkable. I mean, I worry for her safety. But she seems, and I don't know, it's a podcast, right? I don't know how viable her information is, but it makes a lot of sense. Instead of shipping, precursors to all these drugs to Mexico, ship them to Canada. The border is basically open.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's
kind of like less than 1% of the cargo is inspected.
Yeah.
And this fentanyl is no joke.
No, it kills 50,000 people a year, something like that.
Well, it's not even killing the people, just the people that take it. It's like the people that are around it. Like cops are having to get Narcan because they handle this stuff.
Right. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I was listening to an interview with a guy. He was a teams guy. And SEAL teams, and the interviewer, this was on TV, and the interviewer said something along the lines of like, well, Trump has talked about using military force to take out some of these guys and bust up these operations. What do you think about that? And he said, can we do it? Yeah, it's probably not going to be, you'll have some special forces guys, but he says, I don't envy someone that has to go down there and fight on their turf, and they've had a decade to prepare with unlimited funds. So they're not going to be, 4 guys in the back of a pickup truck waving AKs around. They're going to have heavy duty weapons and night vision and all that other fun and games. So it seems like we can just plunk down some special warriors and go whack them out. And listening to him tell it. It seems like it's going to be somewhat more challenging.
Well, he's got to do something about the demand side. Yeah. And listen, if you want to look at the demand side for fentanyl, you can lay a good part of the blame on the farmer, on Big Pharma that overprescribed all those opiates,
OxyContin,
and then when
they're
that's hillbilly heroin. Where I'm looking to spend my last days. That's the big thing keeping that region down. Appalachia has been destroyed, right? You ever see the documentary, The Wild Wonderful Whites of West Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like this dude. He's getting, they're just being silly, but he goes, hey, you want to hear the Boone County mating call? And he shakes a bottle of oxy. Yeah, we laugh, but then there's the scene where woman's giving birth, and she's on camera snorting up oxys, and then surprise, her baby tests positive, and they take her child away.
Right.
And people sit back and laugh at that. I've always had a heart for that.
It's tragic. There was another one, I don't remember the name of it was, but it was a documentary, and it was West Virginia. And this woman who ran a volunteer drug treatment program, she spent her days and nights basically keeping people alive.
Yes.
And that is, that's a whole generation lost in that little town.
Well, so you do something about that, but now you got all these addicts and they're like, they're already addicted. What do they want? And so it's like, fentanyl, right? It's like people, they're looking for heroin. They can't get heroin, so they go with the fentanyl, and that's rolling the dice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it seems like they put fentanyl in almost everything, it seems like.
Well, look who's sending it here.
Yeah.
It's like China, It's like, hey, look, we'll just keep the rot going.
Yeah.
and just think about it, treatment, and then dealing with all the fallout that comes from it, the crime,
it's significant,
and the busted up families and all that stuff, the cascading effect. That's like, just keep sending that stuff to them. Eventually, it's like in war, it's better to wound an enemy,
right,
than to kill them.
It takes 3 guys.
Because you got to take 3 guys.
Yeah.
Actually, it's more like 12.
Yeah. Well, it's at least 4.
Well, you got 3 to take them off, and then you got all the care and all that stuff.
Right.
And hey, think about this, right? Some guy stepped on a booby trap in Vietnam, right? Loses his leg below the knee. If he's still alive, he's still, we're still having to pay for that.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you look at that, that's the long
game.
I mean, that's the Chinese, right? They always play the long game.
Yeah.
And it's like, so you can see it. But the good thing is, I think by the time all this stuff comes to fruition, except for maybe the death, I'll probably be dead.
We got a couple of minutes left. Talk about your school that you run.
Oh yeah, well, my new passion, and this is the one that stuck, is martial arts. 50, I was having a midlife crisis, and I needed that next challenge. And I said, hey, I'm gonna earn a black belt in something. And I've always been interested in Krav Maga. I did a little boxing when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So I started taking lessons, loved it. It became, I went from an interest to a hobby to a lifestyle pretty quick.
Yeah.
I took half my garage, built a fight gym there, so I was training. During COVID, I'd have, friends come over, we'd train all during COVID. And then when I earned my black belt, I got offered a position as an instructor. And I started teaching just part-time, evening classes, only adults.
Right.
And then I was working, it was my last sales job. And when that thing, started to go side, I said, I don't like doing this anymore.
Right.
So I went full-time. I was managing a school, and I always said I'd like to have my own school. And then through a series of events, that school had to close.
Right.
So I opened a school, my own school, last October, and it's been great.
What's it called?
It's called Gainesville Martial Arts and Combatives. We teach from age 4
oh, wow.
all the way up to, we've got some folks in their 40s and 50s. No one's quite as old as me, but and we teach striking, which is boxing and Dutch style kickboxing, combatives, which is a mix of Krav Maga, urban combatives, which is a self-defense system out of the UK.
Right.
And then we have a Japanese Jiu-Jitsu program and armed combatives program, which is a mix of Filipino martial arts, historic European martial arts, and Japanese sword.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's kind of like what I say is, you go to college, right? Yeah, you major in something, but you want to take other classes to run, and that's the approach.
That's the idea
that I've taken, instead of being a one art school.
Right.
And I have qualified instructors that teach each one. I teach the striking, boxing, and Dutch style kickboxing because I'm qualified to teach those. Krav and urban combatives because I'm qualified to teach those. I am a student in the Japanese Jiu-Jitsu class. I just earned my yellow belt.
Oh wow! Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu's all the rage these days.
Yeah, and I'm a student in the armed combatives class. But yeah, we're out there in Gainesville. Just like if you're going down 29, you get the Blue Ridge Seafood. hang a right after the Blue Ridge Seafood sign. We're in the Madison Crescent Shopping Center. If you're looking for just to try it out, or if you're looking for a school, we have a little bit of room left.
Yeah.
We are almost full.
Oh, good. Good for you, man. Yeah,
almost full. But I really enjoy what I'm doing. We have a homeschool program, and that's been. I discovered this real quick. Once I started teaching kids, I love teaching kids.
Oh, yeah?
I love teaching. I was terrified first time. And I remember the first time I had to teach a kids class. This was at the old school. I was filling in for the kids instructor, and these two little girls came in, Livy and Anna. And they're, "Hi, Mr. Steve." I said, "Hi, ladies. I'm going to be your teacher today, and this is my first time teaching kids, so can you go easy on me?" And she said, "We will, Mr. Steve." And I had a lot of fun teaching them, and so we have a homeschool program. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's from we have a class ages 4 to 7, ages 8 to 12. Then we have afternoon classes, 4 to 7, 8 to 12, 4 to 7-year-olds, 8 to 12-year-olds as my honey badgers and my wolverines.
Okay.
Then we have teen and adult classes in the evenings, and then our advanced classes on Saturdays.
Cool.
Yeah. So I love it, and this is what I plan to do until I'm too old to do things. And I'm actually studying Tai Chi, so I'm planning ahead.
Right.
For when I'm too old and too sore.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I lift, but the stuff, I had to hire a trainer to kind of get me through the fact that, I'm 59 years old and I can't do all that crap that I used to do. And, the people in the gym are younger, of course, but any event. Well, hey, Steve, look, thanks for coming on, man. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun and nice to talk about this, because I don't have these conversations very often anymore. It's usually just me ranting about at home at the dinner table. Did you see this?
Right.
And
right.
But no, there's good, there's bad. A lot of change. We say sometimes change is good, but extreme change is not extremely good.
That's a fact, Jack.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, Andy.
Thanks again, Steve.